The return of Christ has been our focus of this third class session each day, and it is a privilege to listen to our brother Matt Norton of the Gosford, New South Wales, Australia Collegiate as he brings us these classes. Today, we're focusing on the aspect of immortality or living forever. Brother Matt.
Thanks, Brother Craig. My dear brothers and sisters in our Lord Jesus Christ, how are we all this morning? That's good. What are we on now? What day is it? It's Thursday, isn't it? It's a blur. Honestly, after the first couple of days, you think this is really good. We're just easing into it, and all of a sudden it just cascades out of control, doesn't it? Anyway, it's been a fantastic week. If I haven't thanked everybody before this, I want to thank you right now for your incredible hospitality and fellowship. It's just so good. So good. Three greatest things in the world, aren't they? Reading, prayer, and fellowship. And we have it all here with us this week. It's fantastic. So, brothers and sisters, who wants to live forever? Yeah, you can put your hands up. That's fine if you wanted to. Like I do too. Forever. Can you imagine that? God sharing himself with us, never revoking it, giving it, and it's yours forever. In immortality. Immortality is everything that we aren't today, everything that we're not today. We just don't have it. Even trying to articulate what it is and what it'll be like, we can only just catch a glimpse of it. There's a few sprinklings in God's word about what it's like. We hope just to have a look at some of those things today. To me, mortality it's all about refurbishing, redoing, over and over again, restoring. For me, I hate mowing lawns. I'm an Italian probably at heart. I'd concrete everything if I could. I can't stand it. And where we are, you guys have got beautiful grass. I don't know, does it even grow, or is it just know to grow that high? If I push my lawnmower in summer, it grows up behind me. It's terrible. I hate it. Over and over again. And if I paint a wall and I think, oh, that's fantastic, that'll last forever, the kids put their foot through it. And I go, what? Oh. And I put the rollers on the sliding door. This happens all the time at home. So I'm not saying don't have kids or anything, I'm just saying. And Seth slams the door shut because he has to feed the cat and bounces off the rollers. And you guys have Lowe's here. We have Bunnings where you get all the department store, for the home handyman. I don't like being a home handyman. Why do you have to have a home handyman? Why doesn't it just work? And that's mortality. Just have a look at 2 Corinthians 5, because Paul contrasts mortality here with immortality in the most vivid way. It's a classic analogy. And he uses two buildings. One is a tent and one's a more permanent building. And we know the tabernacle in the wilderness, don't we? Where Israel had to cart around from the time they basically left Egypt for 40 years. That tent there is what he uses as an illustration to represent our mortal bodies now. And look what he says about this. For we know that if the tent, the tabernacle, that is, our earthly home is destroyed, we have a building from God. And so straight away you understand, he's casting into this image here. Our body is like a tent. The tabernacle in the wilderness. As opposed to, if you wanted to put a picture to it, maybe Solomon's temple, something really permanent, built solidly to represent the kingdom. A building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. You think, oh, wow. For in this tent or tabernacle we groan, longing to put on our heavenly dwelling, if indeed by putting it on we may not be found naked. For while we are still in this tabernacle, this tent, we groan, being burdened. Now you think about that. You're an Israelite. You've come out of Egypt. Everybody's excited because God said, I want to make a focus. I want to build something where we can focus and you can have a place to come and worship me. And they were so excited about that. And the Levites took responsibility for it. And everybody gave, brass and iron and wood and the fabrics, and they fabricated the tabernacle. And they set it all up, and I was extremely happy with that. And the cloud shifted. And what happens then? Kohath, Merari and Gershom, they all went, we've got to pack it all up again. They pull the pegs out of the ground, roll the ropes up, fold up all the fabric, the badger's skins and the ram's skins, and get all the poles and the posts and pick up the silver sockets and put them all together, and all the furniture, and they lugged it to the neck. Oh, the cloud stopped and set it all up again. Now, does anybody here like that's what it says? We groan being burdened. You can see Paul's obviously got this in mind. Does anybody here like camping? There's too many of you. I'm disturbed from my childhood from camping. Dad had this enormous tent. It had about 53 rooms in it, this tent. And the heat it's been here is when we would go camping, okay, in Australia. And Dad didn't have one of those really good tents that were, advanced technologically, that had the little loops on the outside you could put the poles through. No, you had to burrow in like a ferret in through the tent, and your brothers, because we did scissor, paper, rock to see who was going in the tent itself, and you're like, get in there, and we'd have to get in, and the heavy tarp was over the top of you, and you had to hold these poles as they were pushing from this way and make sure it threaded through in the canvas underneath, burning hot sun, like 100-degree sun, and your brothers would jump on top of you, and Dad was yelling and screaming at you to hold this pole and pull that rope, and using language that's not appropriate, and Mum was crying, and you were shaking like this, and it took all day to set the silly thing up. And you'd finally sit there and you'd be disturbed, still trying to get over for 2 days, and at the end of 2 days, Dad goes, all right, let's pack the thing up now, let's go. Back home again. Chuck it in the back of the boot, of the trunk of the car, drive home. That, brothers and sisters, is the best life that you can have on earth. In an analogy, a metaphor like that. There's your whole life. It's like a weekend camping trip, and it's not fun. You and I are right in the middle of the weekend camping trip. The 18-year-old's still anticipating, well, we're going on a camping trip. The life's ahead of us. This is going to be so much fun. I said, no, it's not. It's not. You guys have got to understand this. It's not fun. But they think it is. At its best, at its very, 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 very best, mortality is a life full of tragedy. Even if we humbly and discipline ourselves to make all the right choices, at its very best, it's tragic. And if we fail to do what God says, if we do what the people in the world do, at its worst, it's a life of living hell. And this is what it's like now, mortality. And I think, look at it, he says, we groan, longing to put on our heavenly dwelling. What an incredible thing that would be. What are our lives now? I mean, look at this. How uncomplimentary is that? And we look at the people in the world and we think, would they accept this? This is what God calls us. And it's not even a rebuke, it's just a fact. Vanity, a shadow. Vanishing. Dust and grass. We may even have a look at Isaiah 40 if we have time. Ashes, corruption, dishonour, weak, natural earth. And some people think, they say, I don't want to live forever. Oh, no. No, I couldn't bear living forever. They're so ignorant. I don't even know what it's going to be like. It's going to be better than this. We know it is. So much better. Now, we should look at this too, because this is what happens. Have a look at Job 21, brothers and sisters, because we're susceptible to imagining life is not like I just described it. I know it's satisfying and in measure, but listen, I'm real. I'm just a male, I'm a human, I'm a husband. Life's hard. You raise kids. You disappoint yourself. They disappoint you. You disappoint your own wife. Mortality is difficult, but we imagine sometimes, we're so constricted, and brothers and sisters always around wagging their finger in our face saying, you shouldn't live life like this, get a little bit better, don't wear that, don't speak like that, you should be going here, you're part of that ecclesia. And our life feels really constricted. And we're dissatisfied and discontented sometimes, and we start to imagine that, like Asaph did, and Job sometimes, when Job said, listen, I just want to say something, okay? You can rebuke me afterwards, but I need to have a whinge. I want to say this. I feel like this, life for the wicked sometimes, so good out there, honestly. They have the life. Their life's not hard like mine. Look what Job says. Why do the wicked live in verse 7? They reach an old age and they grow mighty in power. Their offspring are established in their presence. How good is it to be them? They have their generation after generation of their children in front of them. They get to see it all. And their descendants are before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear. In verse 9, and no rod of God is upon them. In other words, they can do whatever they want to, whatever they like, and they never feel the rod of God's correction. Nobody ever wags a finger in their face and says, don't act like that. They've got a free life. And they've lived their life to their potential. And they're everything that they could ever want to be. And Job's saying, that's what it looks like. Verse 10, their bulls breed without fail, their cows calve, and all their herds just multiply. They never have any problems at all. They send out their flock, their little boys like a flock. They have children upon children. They sing and dance to the tambourine and the lyre, and it seems like life for them is one big party, and they're having the time of their life. Meanwhile, we're stuck here in our ecclesias. Ever felt like that? Like, come on. I've felt like that before. It's humiliating to think, standing here, being here with you this week, that I've ever felt like that. But I think, hold on, Job's felt like Asaph, the priest of God's felt like that before. And it gets worse. They spend their days in prosperity, and in peace they go down to Sheol. They have a prosperous life and they have a peaceful death. They even avoid the tragedy that I said most of everyone's life is, and they don't, no, theirs isn't tragic. They have a great life. And then you come out here and you go, but here, I've got the good news for you. I'm going to preach the gospel to you. I want to tell you about God. And you can be saved. And they swipe it out of your hand and they go, what do I need God for? I've got my king. I am God on earth. I have everything that I could ever wish for or ever need. That's what we imagine. They have no need of God. They don't desire the knowledge of his ways. They say, what use is the Almighty for us? They don't even want it. What profit do we get if we pray to him? What could God possibly give me that I haven't already got? Now, that's not their life, is it? Asaph even said that. Asaph basically said, I had to go into God's house and then I realised their end. I actually snapped myself out of that illusion, completely delusional. Snapped myself out and I realised, like, where do they end? What happens, brothers and sisters? Where does it all end for them? Like, let's make an analogy. Let's do the best life that could possibly be given. Do you want me to do male or female? What do you want me to do? See, we'll do both, okay? I don't want to be, I don't want to be misogynist or anything or be accused of not looking after the sisters. So we'll do both. Two families, rich families, well-to-do families. They both have children, same day. One's a boy and one's a girl. And they grow up. And straight away, their parents have given them all the resources of life because they've got so much money. They pour into their children. And they can even sense already that they're child prodigies. They're incredible. They're smart and they're good. They send them to violin lessons. And they're not that really weird intellectual with one eye looking over there and one eye over there. They can hold a conversation. It's incredible. And they go to the best schools. Happens to be the same school. It's amazing. And they're so popular, but they're not high and mighty. They're actually humble. And they're good on the sports field. She's an incredible gymnast, best the school's ever seen. And this guy here, leader of, I don't know, what do you guys, the football. Right? Everybody envies them. They're popular, the teachers love them, they grow up, they're the ducks of the school, they go on to be educated at the best universities that you guys have here to offer. Everybody's applauding them the whole way. They get married. Oh, what a romance. You could write books and make movies about this. Everyone's like, oh, it's incredible. It's the best that money could ever buy. And then they're married and they have children. He's the head of some CEO of some massive company, and she's equal. She can do whatever she wants, and she reaches her full potential. She owns businesses, she folds them, she builds houses, whatever they want to do. She does it, right? Everyone can't believe it. And they're coming after they've had their own children and their children's children they see in front of them. They've got this extended family and they're all there for their 70th birthday. They've finally made it. Cameras there, film crew, all the family, the cake, 70 candles, and together they hold hands and they blow out the candles and they both suffer a massive heart attack and die. But their life's been so much fun, no one cares. The party still goes on. It's just so exciting. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? In our little minds we go, oh yeah, everyone's living a life like that. It doesn't even exist. And even if it did, and they got their 70 years and 10, and if by a little bit of strength, like we saw the other day, they just eked out a little bit more. They made it to 80. Wow. We had a sister at our meeting, 107. 107. So you can get a little bit more. So that life there, that's the best that money can buy, that mortality can give. How does it end? And so what we do is we're tempted to weigh up that, because we're at the cusp of it. If things went right for me, brothers and sisters, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here with you. If things went right for me, I would have been with them. I would have had that sort of life. And we think sometimes it's like that. We're on the cusp of something so great, and yet for the truth holding me back and my brothers and sisters talking down to me and making me wear a tie, I could have been so good. We've got this monkey on their back, but we think, maybe I'll trade in today. Immortality for today. Maybe I'll trade it in. And we start to weigh it up and evaluate, maybe today's a bit better than immortality. Are we absolutely stark, raving crazy? And that's what the Bible says. And yet it gives us pictures of righteous men and women who thought that way. So if you've ever thought that way, you can, in hindsight, give yourself a little slap. But it's okay. God knows how we think. We're ungrateful. And sometimes we need to wake up and say, and see what the Father has on offer for us. I mean, look at this. This is what I did this for you this morning. I looked at the current world population clock just so I get some accuracy. 7.5 billion people, just over. So since last night, I don't want to depress you all, but since last night, where am I going to... I can point over there. I hope it doesn't go in anyone's eyes. So this is weird now. If I turn around, I'm facing... Today, since midnight, 127,000 people have been born. 127,000 people. But if you offset that against the 52,500 people that died last night, or since, and there's more since I did this little snapshot, since you woke up, and after you've been to bed since yesterday, there's another 74,000 people on earth. It's getting, elbow rooms being less. There it is. And I think about all those people, especially the 52,000 that died, because every one of us has suffered tragedy in our life. Everybody's buried a loved one. I've seen plenty. And I look at those 52,000 people and I think to myself, I wonder how many of those people are connected to immortality like we are. How many of those are tapped into the source of God's true power and He's offered immortality to? Honestly, it makes me well up when I think about that. 52,000 people must have impacted such a greater number. Do we even know any of those 52,000 people? Well, I found out last night there was a brother from our old ecclesia that died, an older brother who lived to about 87, a faithful old brother. He's one of those 52,000. I wonder how many others like him are amongst them. See, we've been given something so great. It's incredible. And we look around at ourselves and we think, my goodness, if I was God, I wouldn't be choosing me. And you might be thinking you wouldn't be choosing you, and you certainly wouldn't choose me. I understand that. But we have to understand this is what mortality's like. And it's probably, like I talked to the teenagers about it, and maybe it hasn't hit them yet. I'm sure it's hit you. I can remember the first time it sank home to me. It was a young brother. How old am I now? It was probably nearly 20 years ago, at least 15 years ago. A younger brother, maybe it was about 20 years ago, he got that terrible disease. He got cancer at a young age. He was unbaptised, and it was Hodgkin's lymphoma, a really aggressive form, and the ecclesia was praying for him. So how could this happen? And he went through a whole year of chemotherapy. It was torturous, and he lost all his hair. And, you beg God to intercede, and he doesn't always intercede. Not in the way we expect him to anyway. And this brother, he beat it. It was incredible, His hair grew back, he got strong, he got baptised. And it was a real motivating force for so many in our ecclesia at the time. And everything was going along well. And of course, you know what's going to happen next, don't you? You get the phone call, and Brother Luke's his body's riddled with, it's terminal now, and the doctors have given him just a short time to live. And just a couple of months later, I was on my deliveries, and I went past his house, and I thought I should stop in and see him. And you're never ready for these moments, and you go in there and you see him, and he's withered away. There's nothing left of him. And we sat down, and I spent about half an hour with him. This is when it impacted me, and he and I were chatting. We're having a good laugh about life too, some of the good times, but he was super focused. He'd just done this talk prior to him, the illness returning, at a school of the prophets, and he had done it, would you believe, sort of like this on immortality, and he'd focused on a vile body being completely traded in for a glorious body. And for him, he was front and centre. It was all he could focus on. It was the glorious body. And he's having this vile body of mortality swallowed up and life given to him. And I remember chatting to him about that, and we were talking about it, and it was front and centre. And he said to me, this is just one moment, he said, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to shave my head again." And I said, "What do you want to do that for? Your hair's just grown back." And he just reaches up, no effort at all, and goes like this, and just pulls out this enormous tuft of hair, came out without any effort. And he goes, "I've had it." And I just remember, it just hit me, and I held it all together, walked outside, and my tears just came out. I thought, there's no way. There's no way at all. I look back on that moment, I look back at that time, and I thought to myself, that is me. It's just an accelerated version of me. I'm following him exactly in his physicality. It just might take me 60 or 70 years to get there, but it's exactly the same. And I'm going to go and compare my 60 or 70 years with immortality. He wants to live forever. Buried him. He's gone now, but he died in Christ. I know God, he'll bring him up out of the grave. He'll be given a glorious body. He's one of those, the people that have died. He's tapped into it. Have you tapped into it, brothers and sisters? Do you want to live forever? Life, this tragic life, the vulnerability of life, at one point, sometimes you catch them outside and they're willing to talk about the future, willing to talk about, when they have this existential crisis. And in that moment, everybody wants to live on. You think about Walt Disney. Everyone's heard the urban myth about Walt Disney, haven't they? What does it said happened to him? That's right. It's a branch of physics which I know nothing about called cryogenics. But it's big. It's big in the States. So, maybe you want to dial that in. At the moment of death, they'll take you. Big warehouses full of frozen people. With the deep desire that technology may get advanced sufficiently in the future so that a viable form of reanimation might be apparent to us. He thinks he's going to be reanimated. It's never going to happen. That's what they think. Because deep in the heart of every single person is, I want to live on. 70 years just isn't enough. It's not. It's stark. And look at the contrast. This is what God calls his offering to us. An eternal weight of glory. An eternal weight of glory is a little, if you juxtapose that to you're nothing but a mist, a vapour. Look at the difference between 70 years here and eternal weight of glory. There's a lot of difference in that. He calls it a great reward, satisfying and full. Now, what is immortality? Like, I'm just a person. I don't know. I can't articulate it. But here's some of the words in the Greek from the New Testament. Immortality, athanasia. What does that remind you of? Athanasia. Euthanasia, like a beautiful death, right? But the A is the negative, no death. Immortality is no death. There's nothing in there to do with death. It's beautiful when you think about it. Deathless. It's used of God because in 1 Timothy 6, like we know, God says he only hath immortality. Now, what does that mean? Because don't the angels have immortality as well? So what does it mean when it says God only has immortality? It's basically right. It's only underived in him. He's the origin of it. If it weren't for him sharing it with the angels, they wouldn't have it either. But it's not like he's given it to them and, I might take it back. It's never going to happen. It will never be revoked. He only has immortality. It's used of our glorified bodies in the future. Athanasia, that's one of the words. Incorruption, I like this word. An unending existence. And it's got this moral tinge to it, which is very, very interesting. Because, of course, immortality is not going to be an unending existence which is fueled by our own lusts. Now, it's not going to be some Marvel movie where you can be an evil person and live forever and have, wicked plans. Immortality has got a moral side to it. It's based upon love and God's righteousness. If I asked you, if I said, well, give me some of the qualities that immortality is based on, and I'll give you a hint. Who said to God, show me what your glory's like? Who said that? Moses. So describe to me, give me some of the adjectives used, some of the qualities to describe what immortality, the physical qualities of immortality is based on. What's the personality like? What's the character like? Give me some of the things that Moses learnt that day. Okay, kindness is one. There's an immortal being standing right here, and we're going to describe him. What's he like, brothers and sisters? Loving kindness. Merciful. Long-suffering. He's abundant in goodness and truth, keeps mercy for thousands, and forgives. See, that's immortality. And immortality is attractive to people that have got a taste for what God is like. Like some of us, didn't even want to come to Bible school. You know that you come because of your kids sometimes, and you go, I'm not even looking forward to it. But by Wednesday, you really get caught up in it and you think, how good is this place? You've got to get a taste for it. And sometimes when it's like that, you realise just how far you're removed now from the taste of good things. Immortality is based on this. And there'll be a certain quality of life which will be unending. How inappropriate would it be to give a debauched sinner with an undeveloped mind a body of immortality? It'd be like giving a machine gun to a monkey. It's not going to happen. So in Australia, they don't do it so much anymore, they used to have open-air preaching. You may have it over here in the States, I don't know, but they used to have open-air preaching. And so the brethren on a Sunday afternoon would go down there, and you go down to a public place and there'd be just people walking past you, and you'd just start talking about the Bible, any subject at all. And this brother was talking about the kingdom. And there was this drunken, dishevelled, disgusting, smelly bum just there. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but that's what he was. He was just here. And he went and sat down at the foot of this brother giving the talk, and he put his lunch, a sandwich, well, it was half eaten because he'd got it out of the bin there somewhere, he put it on this brother's shoe as he was talking. And this brother's holding his Bible up there, and he just goes, just keep on going, just plough on. And he starts talking about the kingdom and everything, and this dirty guy looks up and goes, what? You mean, if I want to be in the kingdom, I've got to give up my women, my booze, and my cigarettes? And this brother, he's just like, he didn't even know what to say to him. He just sort of half nods like this, and he goes, if that's your immortality, you can keep it. And, we look at that and go, what a horrifying picture. And if it weren't so so stark it'd be funny. I suppose it is a little bit humorous when you think of that. That's what people, like that existence. What hope has he got in life? He's got no more hope than the most popular elite movie star. But that's really morally what they're like. Incorruption. There's a moral tinge to it. And they, because they have not tasted and seen that God is good, they don't even want a part of it. You offer it to them. This is how good it is. They go, I don't want it. Just slap it out of your hand. And you go, yeah, I understand that. They don't even want it. Absolutely terrible. There are other words too. Incorruptible, which describes the way that it cannot degenerate or erode. Either morally, I like that, morally or physically. I can get it. I think I could understand God building something that would never degenerate. But the idea that we would never sin, would never want to sin, it's not even part of our existence. We're not going to break down. There's no rust, no corrosion morally in our natures. Now that's something to behold, isn't it? Something to hope in. And this last, the eternal life, the aeonos zoe, the life of the age, it's still immortality. It's no different. This is not talking, and it's the life of the 1,000 years, and people go, what? But I thought you said it was forever. It's not talking about the duration of the life, it's talking about the age of its distribution. So at the beginning of the millennium, God will distribute immortality. And I've put my hand up for that. I want to be at the beginning. I don't want to last another 1,000 years till the end of the millennium when God once more will distribute immortality. That's the life of the age. He'll give in the age immortality to faithful brothers and sisters. So we catch a glimpse of what it's like. I'm just looking at the time. I wouldn't mind having a look at Isaiah 40, just quickly. Isaiah 40. This really brings it out for us. Isaiah 40, John the Baptist cried this because he understood it. He had nothing in the world. He could see that it was worthless. Material advantage doesn't really affect you and make you any better. And he said, all flesh is grass, and its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades, and then the breath of Yahweh blows on it. Surely the people are grass, and the grass withers, the flower fades. So all of us here, all of us are grass. Every single one of us, except who? Except what is different? Remember that couple, that boy and that girl? They're the flower. They're the flowers. We're all grass, everyone, grass competing with each other. I'm a better bit of grass than you are, right? All our life. But we turn around and go, oh, look at that beautiful flower. It's the best, the most intelligent, the most physically capable, you know, the one who's the smartest, those who are the fastest, those who are the most popular. The flower, the very best that could come from humanity. And so if I asked two of you to stand up and we could go, oh, they're a bit higher than us, I won't do it, but unless, of course, who could we vote for to be the physically the best specimen here? Okay, there's no takers, I get it. But you could understand, it's like we see them and we go, oh, I wish I could be like them. And we get so jealous, and God says, hold on, all flesh is grass, the beauty of the field. And it's described over in verse 22. The inhabitants, the grass, like grasshoppers, they're nothing. And then verse 23, he brings the princes to nothing, the rulers. So there's the flower. There's the people we look up to, the very best that money could buy, the best that we could offer. And God says, yes, it looks so different. There's stark contrast between grass and the flower. But by the afternoon when God blows on it and it withers, you can't even tell the difference. In the late evening of everybody's life, when we all go tragically to our deaths, who cares who was the biggest and the best? That's Isaiah 40. And we read that and we go, oh, that's depressing. I thought there was really something else out there. Well, there is. The flip side is, look at verse 8. The grass may wither. Yeah, the flower will fade. But the word of our God will stand forever. That's the thing we have to tap into. We're grass, we might be the flower, but in the end, the only thing that's got any connection with immortality is the Word of God. And that's what we got to be connected to. We have to be. That's the only viable means of reanimation. Nothing else. In fact, like Brother Frank was talking about the other night, or today I think, maybe I'm thinking, listen to that, Matt. You've got to do the readings with your kids. If you look at it like this, every time you sit down and open the Word of God, if this is true, if this is the only viable means of reanimation, that means every time I sit down with my children and we read a portion of this and we start to explain and understand it, we're inching with the family towards immortality. We're getting closer, little bit by little bit. This is how good this thing is. Now, do we believe that? The Bible is quite clear. It's only the Word of God that endures forever. And that's what we need to be connected to, brothers and sisters. So let's think about like the physical qualities of immortality. There's only a small list, and I don't know how exhaustive that is. And I believe you should take that list and you should put it on your wall so that your children can see it, put it on the fridge so you're reminded of it every day. And think about these things. You can add to it and send me. If you find anything else that you think should go in there, send it to me. I want it. I want to add it to that list. So you think about some of the things on that list that you could probably tease out. To even take the first one, invisibility. You think, okay, it has its facility about it, invisibility, because what's Numbers 22 about? Anybody remember that? It's Balaam. Remember Balaam? He was warned because he had kaleidoscope eyes. All he could see was the money. He's thinking, oh, yeah. Balak said, come and curse them for me. I'll make you rich. And he thinks, oh, I'll do that. Oh, I can't. Will God let me? Only go with the men if they call you. And off in the morning, he saddles his ass and just tears out. The angel of the Lord was angry. The angel of the Lord stepped out of the house behind him with a long two-edged broadsword. Remember the story? And Balaam's charging, as Jude says, in the way of Balaam, after money and material things, couldn't care less, left his servants way behind. And the angel of the Lord comes and stands in front of him. Oblivious. Balaam can't even see him. I don't even know how that works, but an immortal can do that. The donkey can see him. The donkey steers himself out of the way. Balaam's like, whoa, what's going on? And he tries to bring him back onto the path again. The angel shifts across strategically to make sure he can't get along the path once more. And he shoves Balaam's foot up against the wall and Balaam jumps off. He's so angry, he starts to beat the poor animal. He hits it. Never hit it in his life. He's so angry because all he wants to do is he can't have anybody stopping him. And then the angel shifts again to checkmate position with his long sword. He's got the sword. Can you imagine holding that sword? Because there's another one there, like total control over your emotions. You give me that sword. Balaam wouldn't have lasted even this long. And so there he is. He falls under him in a big heap. And Balaam gets off. He starts striking the animal before the angel opens the mouth of the donkey. The donkey says, I've never done anything like this before, have I? And we know that great Sunday school joke when Balaam made an ass of himself and said, nay, back to him. We know that. But guess what Balaam says next? Oh, the irony of this. Balaam says, if I had a sword in my hand, I'd kill you. You're the angel. What are you thinking? Oh, man. That angel, I would have just walked off and just went, that's what I think. And the angel doesn't, because he's got total control over his emotions. And Balaam's eyes are open. He's looking down the barrel of that long double-edged sword, and his eyes flash, before him. And we look back on the scripture and we think, do you think Adam would have loved to be immortal and to be able to control his emotions at the time when he's offered the fruit? What about, David when he looked down on Bathsheba? Wouldn't he, on reflection, wished, like anything at all, that he could have controlled himself? Or Reuben, who Jacob upbraided? Or Tamar, who thought, I've been caged for so long, I want to go out and see the boys of the land. Do you think all those people, and a harsh word here or there, and when you've lost your cool with a brother or sister at an AB meeting or a business meeting or any other time, do you wish that at that time you had the faculty of immortality to control what you really felt? To simmer down a bit when you got a head full of blood and adrenaline? See, mortality and immortality is so different, brothers and sisters. It's massively different. Limitless strength. And what's limitless strength about? What's that example? Out of Isaiah 37 there. Anybody remember that one? While you're thinking about that, I mean, it's not even on the board, but I think about the ability to sing. Imagine being able to sing well. Like, there's probably a lot of you, and we'll hear it later on this week, who can sing. I can't sing. In fact, it's really terrible because my mother, when she went to Catholic school, she desperately wanted to be in the choir. And the priest said, no, you can't be in the choir. You're a really bad singer. And she pleaded with him and said, please let me in the choir. And he said, well, if you promise only to mouth the words. And Mum didn't have enough dignity to say no. She said, okay, I'll do that. See, when the brethren at our meeting, the younger ones, years and years ago, they wanted to get singing lessons, they didn't even call me up because I'm that bad. And I think in the kingdom, I'd love to be able to sing. And this brother, he's a brother now, but I was teaching the truth to him at work, and I was telling him how, you should come over to our ecclesia and meet everybody. And he for months he put it off, and he turned up this one Sunday, just out of the blue, like really surprised. And I was so excited to see him. I sat up the back with him, and we singing this hymn. And uncharacteristically for me, I was singing maybe a bit louder than what I would normally do. And to put it into context for you, this brother, now he's a brother, he appreciates Pavarotti. Not me. And at the end of the singing the hymn, and I was so happy to have him there, he whispers to me, is that your favourite hymn? I bet it is. I went, because it was. And I went, no, why? He points to the line and says, soon shall victory tune your song. I think, okay, in immortality, I'm not going to need singing lessons. I'll be able to sing. And Mum won't have to just mouth the words. And the Nortons will be in the choir. And people will turn around and go, like that. What's limitless strength, brothers and sisters? What is that one? What's the example? Was there 186 or 185,000? I can't remember. 185? I mean, give or take 1,000. What's it matter? So you're in heaven. You're with all the angels. What are we going to do about them? Remember, it's like a flood. It's come to the neck around Jerusalem. And God's nationality, his people, are almost wiped out again. What's he going to do? This is the flower of the then-known world empire. So much power. Right, we're going to kill them. Well, how many angels are we going to need? Oh, you can go. Just one. What? You're sending me, and then you're immortal, remember? Oh, yeah, I forgot. One angel. Remember what Lord Byron said? This is beautiful. He breathed on the face of the foe as he passed, just took their breath away. Hezekiah gets up in the morning, oh, they're all dead. Can you believe that? That's immortality. And we do public lectures and we say, oh, no, we haven't got the Holy Spirit gifts now. No, we'll get them back in the kingdom. They were a taste, tiny taste of the powers of the age to come. God will reside in you, the power to create worlds. The power, he's going to share himself with us. That's immortality. And here we are going, oh, will I trade it in for now? And we get the metaphor, we get those stories like Esau, a bowl of pottage for a birthright. People giving up the kingdom, giving up the promise. It blows our mind, and yet, I know, I've felt like that before. I've thought like that before. All of us have. And we're mad, absolutely mad. Freedom from pain. There's probably brothers and sisters in here who live with constant and unending pain. And the older you get, the more pain you suffer. And you wake at night and it hurts. Imagine that, freedom from pain. And it's not just physical pain that promises. It's emotional pain and mental anguish and torment from sins past, from consequences of things that have happened. No more pain or anxiety. Never sleeping. And you talk to your children about this. What about never sleeping? So it's at night now in the kingdom. I don't know where you'll be sent back to what part of the world to oversee, to supervise, to cooperate with, to bring people, to be that word behind them. This is the way, walk in it. The mortal population, to show them the truth throughout the millennium, wherever it is. It's night time. What do mortals do? Like, what a waste of time. 8 hours in bed every night, although I like it, it's pretty nice. But 8 hours in bed, what a waste. But you've got to do it. You can't live without it. But now you're immortal. What are you going to do tonight? You're immortal. All the mortal population that you're looking after settle down. They're quiet. What are you going to do? Any takers? Does anybody ever talk to their kids about what could we do at night time? Like I said to the kids, you might want to visit, and I'm sure you probably could, a different constellation. I mean, if you really wanted something that was out there in your mind now, but just on the other side of the world is Jerusalem. And I think, well, because I've got an amazing faculty of movement, like Daniel, when he prayed to God to come and help him, and Gabriel or Michael says, I was just with God and now I'm here with you, wherever, just like that, in immortality. And so this evening, the mortal population have settled down and we go back to the temple. Who would you like to talk to and spend time with? What would you like to do? You need to visualize these things and to think about them, and the accuracy of it does not matter. But I don't think it's inaccurate to think that, well, because I've enjoyed Revelation over my time in the truth, and I'd love to sit down with John. It's going to take more than one night, probably take a few weeks to rerun Revelation's visions through and have him tell me what he thought it all represented and what he thought about each vision as it came up, and have Daniel with him too, because Daniel had the book sealed and he was really upset that he didn't get to see it all. And John tell him what he knew about the book of Daniel. And then from our point of view, we say, well, listen to this. This is what, you see the great red dragon there. You ever heard of this guy called Constantine? Who was he? Who was Constantine? Start telling them about the crazy papacy in the Middle Ages and how people stood up and were faithful. Imagine having those conversations. How exciting. Don't have to sleep. That's immortality, brothers and sisters. We need to talk about this with each other. We need to talk about it with our children. Let's just finish. We'll finish with, we could go on talking about it, but Revelation's a nice little picture. Revelation 15. It's the end of the vials in Revelation 15. And we live right at this time. We're in the 6th vial, we know that. And the 7th vial, which is going to be so big, after all the dust settles, you get this vision in chapter 15 of this is where we're going to end up at the end of the vials. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and amazing. 7 angels with 7 plagues, which are the last plagues, for with them the wrath of God is finished. And I saw what appeared to be a sea of glass that had been mingled with fire. So then, it's pretty obvious. The sea and the nations roar with wicked men, corrupt men, Putin, Trump, Merkel, May, all those names which we know that run this world, all corrupt. Think about the Muslim nations. They're corrupt leaders. The sea and the waves which were roaring through 2018, God just goes, we silence them. Crystal clear glass now. And also those who had conquered. Here we are. And us from 2018 Shippensburg, who had conquered the beast and its image and the number of its name. Standing beside the sea of glass with harps of God in their hands. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, the song of the Lamb. Great and amazing are your deeds, O Lord God the Almighty. Just and true are your ways, O King of the nations. Who will not fear thee? I mean, you think about that. Who will not fear thee now after that manifestation of power? Who will not fear thee, O Lord, and glorify your name? For you alone are holy. All nations will come and worship you, for your righteous acts have been revealed. And I picture that. There we are, in immortality. And now we've got this, you can make an analogy like a coat, like hanging on our backs. We've been given immortality, clothed. And the most beautiful morning that's ever broken over the earth, this is Christ's rule, breaks over the earth. And there we are, standing with one another in God's kingdom, immortal, with all of the future, undeserved happiness reaching out for forever. Like, shame on us, brothers and sisters. But God understands. Shame on us if we start to think, I'll trade in immortality for today. There's nothing. We have nothing. Nothing good in our lives now but the hope, the good news of the gospel of God's kingdom.